Hello, this is David Birch at Star Path School of Navigation in Seattle with a progress report on Jacob's Row and a discussion of that. And what time is it here? This is 4:04 Zulu, June 8th, Saturday, June 8th. And then here I'm at the Google Earth. And actually, let's graph. This chart here is the one called Grafton Passage. You might want to shut that one off, and then we'll look here. And here was where he was anchored, and I'm going to actually follow up on this thought a little bit. He was anchored here with this great huge spread of positions. Then he took off more or less. See, these are more or less a straight line. He came over to here. Now, what I'm going to argue, and I'm just arguing this based on something which I'll show you in a moment, I think he's anchored again. Now, I have not heard from him, and I don't expect to. I would guess this was a very tiring, hard row here. But my guess is, and I'm going to show you why, I think he's anchored in here. This is about, 9 meters. That's 27 feet of water. And furthermore, there could also be mooring buoys out here. Not out of the question at all that there would be mooring buoys. So I think he stopped here. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Okay, so let's look at the wind at Cairns. So here, this is an anchorage area. This is now the official charts. And if I double-click that, you see this is what they call anchor berth. This is an anchorage area where it's legal to anchor. I don't have more to say about that except, let's see, see, this is here. That's 4 miles to go. And then this view, you don't see anything, but let's zoom in. These charts have what's called a ska-min. That's a parameter. The parameter of every object on a chart has a parameter called ska-min. And the ska-min is the minimum scale that an object shows. So this has, if we look at the scale here, this is like 1 to 70,000. So the ska-min is obviously bigger than that. And so it looks like it kicks in like 1 to 50,000 or something. So these buoys, these channel markers don't show up at all. They're there, right? They're obviously there, but they're not going to show on these official ENC charts until you get zoomed into a certain scale. There's arguments for doing that. And so his area would be here. There's no particular reason for him to come down this channel and just be dealing with traffic. He could come in here and join the channel anywhere later tomorrow. And keep in mind, too, that his original plan, which we had back here on Google Earth, the original plan was to come in and anchor in Mission Bay. I think my feeling is that plan's changed and it's out here. And I'll tell you why. And before I tell you why, which is the last part of what I want to say tonight, let me look. Okay, here are the various places, and this is a link. You can read it right off of here. I'll try to put that in the discussion. See, we're a little bit beyond with the resolution as close as he is to land. These models, he's 4 miles from land. So these very sophisticated weather models the ones we're using over here. I've been using GFS, FV3, GFS, whatever, all the famous European community weather model. Those are all global models, and they're not any good close to the shore. Now, once you get into U.S. waters, in U.S. waters, we have models, high-resolution, rapid refresh models that are very good. I mean, right into these bays, into these valleys, we're lucky we have very good high-resolution models like that. U.S. is the only place that has models of that kind of precision that are updated every hour, which you need for such a terrain-influenced weather. So anyway, models don't do us any good any longer on the weather, but we can look at I'm sorry, it's right in front of me. Here's the place we can look at. So he's somewhere like right in here. So we could look at Arlington Reef. You just click that. And now this is at 2:30 p.m. That is a daylight. That's an Australian time where he is. That's what the local fishermen and so forth are wearing on their watch, 2:30. And if I go up to my own clock, I follow a few places around the world. Yeah, 1442 is 2 p.m. And so it's 2 p.m. What's the wind right there at Arlington Reef, which he would have to deal with? South-southeast. That's like the worst kind. South is worst. South-southeast is just as bad, right? And it's 24 knots. No, 20 knots, gusting to 24. And so if you go back here, look into Cairns itself, what do they got right in there? South-southeast, 18 knots. So the winds are not nice. So it's, and the other thing is, okay, let's look at the actual forecasts. Observations. Wait just a minute. I have to. Cairns Global Forecast. Okay, so let's see what they say for tomorrow. This is a link here. Tomorrow, Saturday. It's not much better. Southeasterly, 20 to 25. Okay, but he's going to be rested and fresh and adrenaline pumped, and he probably just hit on in there. I'm not sure, but I am convinced it does look now like. I mean, with all this work he did to get here, it looks pretty sure that he's decided he's getting into Cairns on his own bottom as best he can, and otherwise he's got tons of people come out and pull him in from here. He didn't have to stay out here, so. That looks like a decision that he's made, but I don't know any of that for a fact. Now, let me come back to the argument about why I think he's anchored. And I just posted a note about that in this view, Jacob. Okay, view. Okay, so this is a little article I just posted because of this. And the question is, why is Jacob's anchored positions are much more uncertain than underway? And here's just... again, and I look at here, you got all kinds of terrible little drawings here. So I apologize for that back of the envelope. Literally, this one is an envelope, back of an envelope. But the idea here was there's a lot of work to draw up real pictures, and I just want to make a quick point, and it may not even be true. But the idea is to look at this. We can look at his track when he's moving. And here's example. Here's where he was anchored. And you see these positions going all over everywhere. And here's what his track looked like going up. And here's what it looked like going across to where he is right now here. Furthermore, you can go back to the Google Earth. Not that. Go to Google Earth. And then go back out. Go back and look somewhere here. You see, these tracks are all, look at that. That's all pretty nice. Look, compare that sort of scatter in positions plus this is what's here. Now, it's always exactly the same equipment, the same GPS antenna, which is located below decks with a terrible view of the sky. And these are always the average of 3-hour position, the last 3 hours. That's what we do. We take the data that his company or whoever he's working with publishes online. We capture that data, then we do a sliding average. That helps make it look a little bit nicer. But then once he anchors, it goes all collywobble. Now again, and here's his positions here. So my thoughts are this indication here means he's anchored. It's starting to get ugly again because of that. And here's what the argument is. So that is just demonstrating it. Now let's go down here, and here's the idea. When you have I've schematically put, like, here's his solar panels. I don't know. Okay, I have to clarify. I don't know what his boat looks like inside here, where this is. There's beautiful pictures of the boat online, but where this little Iridium Go and the antenna is sitting in there, I don't know. Except he did once mention it's underneath some solar panels, which really blocks it. And I'm just pretending I'm in some solid boat, and it's got a couple port lights on the side. So this thing only gets to see the sky, and this is the whole sky about us, the whole sky, right? So looking out of this window, it sees this little chunk of sky right here, and looking out this window, it sees this little chunk of sky. And then if I sort of like yaw, right, a yaw motion, that's like the boat, the bow goes left and the bow goes right. So then you see, then this side maybe sees forward and this side sees aft. And then when I roll, I see a little higher and a little, this one goes up and high, this one goes down, maybe looks in the water, maybe lower, so forth. So you see, when you're moving around a lot, you get to see more of the sky. So that's the point. And here's what happens. When you see a limited view of the sky, like you get, it's these GPS, the satellites, each one essentially provides a line of position. It's actually a big circle of position, but that doesn't matter too much. But it's a line of position like that. And then I get another satellite, I get a line of position like that. And if these two are near in the same direction, then these two, like in other words, I'm seeing them both out this window here. Or one out here and one out here. These are the same. One out here and one out here is the same as two out of here. That's 180 degrees angle from each other is the same as right next to each other. I think that's clear. Okay, so what happens is when you have a limited view of the sky like this, these angles are going to intersect at narrow angles. Then if one of them is just, and this is always what the issue is, all these lines have errors, a little bit of errors. And if one has a little bit of an error, you see, let's suppose it's not really 2. If it's 1 and 2, I had a fix here. Now, but if 2 is just a little bit wrong, few degrees wrong, then that scissors up this line like that, and then you get a fix up here. So this is a fix up here. So you see when these intersect, this could be 2 bearing fixes to a lighthouse and a rock, right? That's why you don't take a lighthouse and a rock next to each other. You like to get them, 60 degrees or 70 degrees, 60, 40, anything above 40, 50, 60 degrees apart. For bearings with a compass bearing with a lighthouse. But so you got this narrow fix. Whereas a small error in one of the lines makes a big error in the position fix. And here, when they're more perpendicular, you can have the same kind of error with a relatively smaller influence on the fix. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, with GPS fixes, it's even worse than that. It's worse than with a compass bearing. Because a GPS, to get a fix on where you even know your elevation. Like we know our elevation. We don't have to take a 3D fix with our GPS. We can home in, take fewer satellites, and get what they call a 2D fix because I know my elevation, sea level. I'm at sea level. Or I put in 6 feet or something. But I do know what the elevation is of the antenna. I put that in. But I still need 3 LOPs. Normally it only take 2, but with the GPS you need 3. And the third one, and you can read this article or related things, the third one is just to remove the timing error. And that's explained a little bit more there. So that's the situation. Now let's look when you're anchored. See, when you're anchored and there's kind of a breeze blowing, well, I have a lot of friends who have anchored in the trade winds and in the trade winds conditions, and the boat will kind of like sail back and forth here on the anchor, but it's a kind of a slow motion like this back and forth. But it's in strong winds, that thing's going to be like pulled back like that and sitting there more or less stable. So even though it's going to roll a little bit and move around, it's still got a fairly limited view of the sky. That's the whole point. So when you're anchored, you really have minimized your view of the sky. Or, put another way, once you get underway, the overall motion of the boat is much more dynamic. So even though your little port lights are only looking at this little sliver of the sky, you're sampling more of the sky as you move. So the yawing motion will sweep this view this way and that way, and then as you go over the waves, you'll pitch, bow down, bow up. That'll change the view of the sky. And then you also have the rolling motion, which is not illustrated here. So that's the argument about what's going on here. What's going on is here you have the anchoring locks your view of the sky to a minimum of a view. So your positions are bad. This is like 4.5 miles across here, plus or minus 2.5 miles for this region. Whereas our GPS is, usually sighted at 100 meters or something. In fact, better than that, typically much better than that. But, it's something like 100 meters, not 4.5 miles. And so that's that. And so this is when you're moving, and when you're moving, you get the better fix. Anyway, so that's the argument. So that's my argument that he's anchored there. And so he's anchored right now. And maybe, I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. It looks like the wind doesn't particularly get better tomorrow, but he may be rested up and strong and hyped up enough to come right straight on in there tomorrow. Or chance it does get, let's see here, Cairns coastal forecast, Sunday southeasterly. See, there is a tendency, look here, if we wait till Sunday, it's a little lighter. It's still southeast, not so good, but this is a big difference, 15 to 20 versus 20 to 25. So the other thing to keep in, if you're watching this wondering, is it going to be tomorrow or is it going to be the next day? Take a look at these observations, go like here, Arlington Reef, and just compare what Arlington Reef is here with what it says it's supposed to be here. And then you'll be able to judge ahead of time or guess, what his plans are. But that's the situation there. It looks like tremendous progress. He's accomplished his goal, which is remarkable. It's just a matter, is it going to be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow that it gets finalized. And quite a remarkable chore. And I look forward to learning from him a lot more about the details of the navigation and weather analysis and things that he did underway. He's had several resources, very good resources, and he's made excellent use of those all along with a very good judgment, looks like. Okay, that's all. Maybe tomorrow we report he's done, and then then I'm checking out. We're finished here, and we'll move on to other things.